In this video, we are going to learn how we can run our Ionic application in the browser. We'll be using the Ionic CLI to serve the Ionic application in the browser, and we'll also learn how the code changes are reflected in the browser as we make them in Visual Studio Code. So here is the project folder opened inside Visual Studio Code, and the first thing I'll do is open up the terminal in Visual Studio Code. One of the reasons we chose Visual Studio Code over any other code editor is that Visual Studio Code has a built-in terminal. You can open it from the View menu. So go to View and select Terminal. This opens the built-in terminal in Visual Studio Code. If you prefer using the terminal built into Mac or command prompt if you are on Windows, that's okay too. But make sure that the command that we are going to execute is executed inside your project folder. So as you can see that here I am inside the To Do App folder. And the command to run our Ionic application in the browser is ionic serve, and optionally you can pass in the flag --l. This command spins up a development server on your system and launches the application in the browser. This way you can test your application while you are developing your application inside your code editor. The development server also monitors the project folder for any file changes, and as soon as you make a code change in any of your project files, the server refreshes the application in the browser. The --l flag here stands for lab mode, and if you pass in the --l flag, you will be able to see how your application looks exactly on an Android and iOS device simultaneously. So let's go ahead and run this command and see what happens. So inside the terminal in Visual Studio Code, inside my project folder, I am going to execute the command ionic serve --l. And it prompts me if I want to install at ionic/lab package. This is the package that is required if you want to serve your application in the lab mode. Since I want to, I'll type in Y and press enter, and in just a few seconds the compilation of the application will complete and the application will be launched in the browser. So here is the browser opened up with my Ionic app running inside an iOS and an Android emulator right here in the browser, and I can see my application as it would look like on an iOS and an Android device simultaneously. Now what you see here is the application that was created when you ran the Ionic start command with the blank template. To find out what other templates are available, head over to ionicframework.com/docs/cli/starters.html. And here you can see that you have a total of 7 templates: tabs, blank, which is the one that we used, side menu, super, conference, tutorial, and AWS. Feel free to try out these templates. All these templates will result in a very different application out of the box. Since we want to create our application all by ourselves, we'll be using the blank template. If you head back to Visual Studio Code, you can see that our development server is running, and this server is actually monitoring your files and folders for changes. Let's go ahead and make a small change to a file inside the src folder, which stands for source. And inside this folder, go to the app folder, go to home, and open up home.page.html. And in this file, let's change this title to Ionic is wonderful. And as I save this file, you can see that the CLI compiled the application again. And if you head back to the browser, you can see that the changes are reflected immediately. So the application is refreshed as soon as you save your code changes in your code editor. So now that we know how we can run our application in the browser, in the next video we'll understand how we can run our application on real devices or emulators.